lock, and load. This is Steve Deace. The Steve Deace Show.
And greetings. Happy Friday. Welcome to the Steve Deace Show, live and on demand here on BlazeTV radio and podcast. I am Steve Deace. He is Todd and he is Aaron McIntyre. She is Shannon Joy, New York talk show host. She'll be joining us here in just a few moments for the Deace Group. A lot going on today, including your weekly look at the week that was. And of course, if there's anything that the Deace Group will do, it is encourage you to find an alternative education outlet for your kids. And if that is you, check out our friends over at Freedom Project Academy. They have been doing this for several years. I've known these people. I've worked with them in political activism. We fought together against Common Core back in the day. My own son Noah was enrolled in FPA for a couple of years, so I've seen how they do online home learning and how they do it well firsthand. And I can't give you a better recommendation other than I let them educate my own kid. So if you want to learn more, because your understanding is right now your kids really aren't learning anything except how to betray you and every value you attempted to raise them with. Head over to this website, freedomforschool.com. Get a free information packet today because spots are filling up fast for this fall. Freedom for, F-O-R, the preposition, not the number. freedomforschool.com. Again, get the free information packet today at freedomforschool.com. Next hour, of course, it'll be time for Feedback Friday, and we'll respond to your responses to us. But first, of course, we begin with the Deace Group. Your weekly look at the week that was begins, as it always does, with issue 1. Bleep, Lord Nefarious says.
Hi, I'm Officer Lutz with the Columbus Division of Police. I'm your LGBTQIA+ liaison officer. And we're unveiling right now our Pride Cruiser for the month of June. I'm excited about this cruiser. It's great for representation.
From the congregation over the years kind of say, why are there drag queens at church? And I want to say, why not?
Hi, my name is Johnny and I use he, him pronouns.
Hi, and I'm Conchi and I use she, her pronouns.
And we're here to talk about pronouns.
What is a pronoun? A pronoun is how we identify ourselves apart from our name, and it's also how people refer to us in conversations.
Using the right pronouns is a really simple way to affirm someone's identity.
I want to clarify this for a second here. I'm not saying that kink isn't kid-friendly. I'm saying that kids and kink can coexist at Pride in a totally fine way. There's a nuance here, that making an event kid-friendly doesn't mean sanitizing it, aka taking something like kink out of Pride.
So now that you put these outfits on, does it make you feel any kind of way?
It makes me feel terrified.
But also powerful. And like we're doing something important because this is what a lot of women are going through. People are actually dying and bleeding out because they can't get a safe abortion.
And this is the terrifying visual of what America is going to look like.
We all sat and watched the Ketanji Brown Jackson hearing. What did you think when you watched that hearing?
I will tell you, Joy, I experienced great joy. I watched that with incredible joy because it was just brilliance being displayed for the entire country to see.
We do need more money, but we don't just need more money for vaccines for children eventually. We need more money to plan for the second pandemic. There's going to be another pandemic. So for all those Republicans in Congress criticizing me today for high gas prices in America, are you now saying we were wrong to support Ukraine? Are you saying we were wrong to stand up to Putin? Are you saying that we would rather have lower gas prices in America than Putin's iron fist in Europe? So let's be honest with one another. My message is simple. To the companies running gas stations and setting those prices at the pump, this is a time of war, global peril, Ukraine. These are not normal times. Bring down the price you are charging at the pump to reflect the cost you are paying for the product. Do it now. Do it today.
That was real. With everything else going on, I had not seen that. That was real. That was real. It was?
Oh, which
I know with everything else that was
about?
crazy, but I've seen all that crazy all week long. That's a new one. I had not seen that crazy yet. That happened? When did he say this stuff?
Yesterday. No, actually Wednesday.
It's Han Solo. It's true. All of it.
Yeah.
Are you saying that it was wrong to stand up? You didn't stand up to Putin.
And then he turns around and blames the gas station down the street for the high price of gas.
He's literally shutting off the natural gas of France and Germany. Germany's in a state of emergency. The Russian ruble is at its highest level on the currency markets in 7 years. He's flushed with cash. He's taken over all of the Russian-speaking sectors of Ukraine. If apparently standing up to Putin means the same thing as men can menstruate and women have penises. And what's a border? Vaccines don't have to stop you from getting the infection. Everything they say, is it all opposite day every day? Is it opposite day every day? We stood up to Putin, and he's richer and more powerful than he was before. I'm done here. I'm sorry. I'd not seen that, and so you just got my visceral reaction to that. What a stupid time to be alive. So first question. What was the most deserving of God reducing to a steaming heap of ash in that montage? Shannon, you're the guest and also the lady, so you get to go first. Go ahead.
Well, first, a side note. I love that Biden is just telling us we're going to have another once-in-a-lifetime society-ending pandemic right around the corner. They're just broadcasting to us. It's just a middle finger at this point. Like, it's coming. Get ready. We're going to destroy your world even more, and it's never going to end. And I think
mid-October looks good for that, guys. What do you think? A little mid-October?
Oh, yeah, definitely. That was my prediction. You blew it for me.
Oh, sorry.
That was my prediction.
Strike the record. Forget I said that. Didn't mean to step on your line. My bad.
That's all right. Well, I mean, I think we're all thinking it, right? It just doesn't make any sense. I've never seen a president or a party so blatantly unconcerned about the demolition of our entire society and country, like all at the same time. Like everyone is miserable. Everyone. Their polling is just in the toilet. It's a Titanic. It's a disaster. And they're just like, let's do more. So they've got to be planning something. That's what keeps me up at night. Like, what do they have up their sleeves in October? Because, I mean, I would be surprised if we even have an election, honestly. I don't even know why we talk about it because...
Yeah! There you go. God bless you, sister. On the nose. That's the Shannon Joy. Shannon's on the show today, that's what I pay for right
Stop
there.
Stop it. I just actually drooled. Don't do that.
Yeah.
That's the appropriate level of crazy. Yes, Todd says. Yes. By all means. Yes. I'm sorry, Shannon. Were you going to finish that point? My bad. Go ahead.
I don't know. I forgot what I was going to say. I'm so irritated. We do live in the dumbest time. Yeah. I go back and forth. The girls with the red paint at their crotch and the ritual tearing.
Yeah, that seemed very normal and very reasonable. Yes.
Like, is it insane or demonic? I don't know. I go back and forth, or both.
Yes.
Probably. And these are the people who run things in this country. Yeah. It's insane.
This is why I love the election thing, because who's going to make sure we have the election? The cop with the gay car? Really? The chief in Uvalde? Who's going to make sure it happens? That's why Shannon's dead right, and that my craziest is the cop with the gay car. It just nails home that with all the other crazy, there's nobody else. There's nobody standing on that wall. You want me on the wall? You need me on that wall? There's nobody there.
Everybody loves freedom, but they don't want to have to hear about what I had to do to make sure they had it, right, Colonel Jessup?
Who's going when they're protesters right outside multiple Supreme Court justices' homes? That is illegal. They're doing nothing about it. Who's gonna make sure that people aren't harassing the hell out of you when you try to go to vote? Again, just a couple weeks ago, because I've pushed back against porn books in the schools and various other things and been effective doing it. I went to a banquet for my daughter's soccer program, and there were 2 police officers there specifically to just like Shannon Joy, you and I, sister, we need to get tattoos together or something. They're there just to follow me around at not even at a school board meeting, at a soccer banquet. These cops are not going to say, you know what?
Yeah.
I smell BS. I don't want any part of this. In fact, if you're calling me for this, I need to be more worried about you. That should have been their response. Our list of allies grows thin, Aragorn.
That's true.
When do you alter that line to the list of that one ally grows thin, Aaron? When does it become singular?
They're in this room right now.
Plural. Aaron.
Well, Steve. That's your name. I've felt great, Steve, watching that montage. And it was just great for that to be seen by all of America. I felt great. Oh my gosh. Was she always drinking? Or is it benzos? Are benzos uppers or downers? I don't know. She's always on a downer, whatever she's doing. The worst of the week, though, there was a lot to choose from, but it's the cop, it's the cruiser in Columbus, Ohio, that's donning all of the colors of the rainbow flag. We have come a long way from keep your religion out of my bedroom. We're now saying, ZOMG, look at this fabulous gay police cruiser.
Yes. I know I'm supposed to be mad. It's just so stupid.
It is.
It's so dumb.
Really is.
It's just so dumb. It's so dumb.
It's dumb. Yeah.
I mean, I know it's demonic. I'm not giving you the GOP line. It's dumb. Make fun of it. Don't take it seriously. That's not
right.
These people are very serious. This is demonic, is what it is. It's just so dumb.
But we're sheep, right? So
yes, yeah. It's just I mean it's dumb in terms of its intellectual merit, not its intellectual seriousness. I see that those are 2 different things. In terms of its intellectual serious, I can promise you these people are very serious. And that is the cruiser that will pull up in your driveway when your Karen neighbor in the cul-de-sac that you thought was your friend will lead them to your home, and they'll knock on your door because you won't teach your kids there's more than 2 genders. So intellectually, they are very serious, but on the merits intellectually, it's beyond dumb.
And because it's all that, listen, folks, it's just me saying this, but when it's that dumb, again, I've said it before, we're post-argument then. We're post-reason.
Yes,
for whatever. Therefore, it's when it comes to that knock on the door by whoever, it's 2 men enter, 1 man leaves. It's revolution time. That choice is like Archduke Ferdinand this close away from all of us. Shannon's already been walked away. She knows how close it is. Why don't so many of you? What shiny idols are you busy polishing to make sure that you can avoid all that? Because it's right here and now.
Have you seen the new Thor trailer? I'm kidding. Exit question. If the odds, I'm sorry, that's the next one. Exit question. On a scale of 1 to 10.
10.
With 1 being the odds, you'd be willing to ride a bicycle built for 2 with Joe Biden. And 10 being the odds that Lindsey Graham would be willing to ride Joe Biden. We've talked a lot about crossing red lines on the show this week. It feels like we might have just crossed one here ourselves. Rank this week's level of total depravity. Shannon.
Oh, I'll go with a 10. It's all going down. Titanic.
Yes. There it is. Finally. Finally. Todd.
So good. 10.
Aaron.
I'm going to say 10.
All right. Before we get to issue 2, it is, of course, summer officially. And soon it'll actually be fall, tailgate season. That means it is officially, for the next several months, cooler season. Get a cool cooler from our friends over at Taiga Coolers, all American made, lifetime warranties and guarantees, and they can customize them for you as well. So, if you want to put your kid on one, if you're going tailgating to follow your kid's football season, put him on it, you can do that. Or you've got a bridal event, you want to put your bride or your daughter on there. They can customize just about anything you want in there as long as it doesn't violate any kind of copyright licensing. All right. And if you just want a good old cooler, you don't care about any of that, you just want a cooler that's good, they'll just give you one of those too. Well, they won't give it to you. I mean, you got to buy it, but they will give you a 10% discount when you use the promo code Steve at taigacoolers.com, TAIGA, for taigacoolers.com. Use the promo code Steve to get 10% off. Let's get to issue 2, DeSantis and Trump, superstar team up or battle royale.
When Donald Trump sounds like this, he's hard to beat.
It was Americans of faith who founded this country. It was Americans of faith who built this country. It was Americans of faith who are going to save this country.
And when Ron DeSantis sounds like this, it's hard to choose.
So the question's about gas prices and inflation. You know what I could do? If you could give me a time machine to go back to January 20, 2021, we would just do the opposite of what Biden has done, and we'd be in a better spot. No, I mean, I really think he's got a lot of chutzpah to attack energy producers when he campaigned saying he was going to shut down energy production in the United States.
So I mentioned this on the show yesterday. My phone blew up yesterday afternoon when that poll out of New Hampshire showed up. Mm-hmm. I mean, I felt like I was knee deep in a presidential campaign with the kinds of people that were texting me and about it and messaging me about it. Did you see this? What's your reaction? And here's mine. And that one got the eyeball emoji from a lot of people, showing Ron DeSantis ahead, but basically statistically tied with Trump, especially looking at the percentages. Trump did not go down that far in that poll. He went down a few points. Went from like 42 to 37. DeSantis, since the last time I took it a few months ago, soared from something like 18 to 39. And, I know how presidential politics works. I would have said 48 hours ago, I'm not very confident that he will challenge Trump. When you see a poll like that in one of the first in the nation states, you almost feel compelled that you have to run. So whatever the odds were that DeSantis was going to run yesterday, whatever you thought they were, or 2 days ago, I would increase them for sure after a poll like that, provided he takes care of business in his own state this fall, of course. So what are we, for the first question, and Todd, I'll go to you. What are we more likely to see? Which of these two scenarios? DeSantis versus Trump for the GOP nomination next year, or DeSantis as Trump's running mate 2 years from now? Because it'll be about June, July of 24 when the nominees of the two parties will select their running mates. So what do you think, Todd? Which scenario is most likely?
Well, yesterday we talked about this a bit, and I said this has the feel of a irresistible force versus an immovable object. Mm-hmm. We can see how male ego might get in the way, things like that. I can absolutely see the former happening. I'm not strident one way or the other, but I'm going to argue for the latter, that they team up. And I'm going to do it because I haven't worked that language out in my head as much. I'm just going to start talking, and instantly anybody step in when it's gone.
I think there's plenty of people in our audience that would actually like to see that so that they won't be compelled to choose between one of the two. But yes.
But I think, Donald Trump, I think we all know that as much as anything else, he just wants personal validation to win this back. More than what as fine of a speech that was, more than he believes that though, or anything else, he just wants his vengeance, and it doesn't.
MacArthur wants to return to the Philippines.
It doesn't mean he doesn't care about he knows. Listen, everybody's suffering right now under Biden, per what Governor DeSantis just said there. But listen, to know that his motivation for doing that also comes, hopefully, with a lot of the return to normal just by a sane adult, and Trump qualifies as that in terms of just rational policies.
Somebody trying to run a country they don't hate.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
And and knowing full well that the Governor DeSantis, there's no way around. I wouldn't, if he's naive enough to think that somehow he can dance through the rain traps and run against Trump. Like, if he just goes for it, I know it's coming and I want it. God bless you, sir. But for the good of the country, I might be able to see things come together, knowing that Donald Trump is going to be 75. I can't, every time I remember, DeSantis is only 43 years old.
And of course, if there's anything we learned from the Trump...
He's only 40, what?
Yeah,
Isn't he?
he's young.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got young kids at home, remember. He's younger than me, yeah. Also, keep in mind, if we learned anything for better or for worse from the Trump presidency, is he likes to delegate authority, man.
Which is my next point.
Is that where you were going to go? I mean, you could really essentially be the prime minister, basically.
Oh, yes. I'm basically the chief of staff.
Yeah.
And also let me help you staff this thing to find all the right people.
Because I think, now, this is a key point. The raid that happened yesterday with the FBI going after the alleged alternative electors that Trump was going to try to name on January 6th. Remember how difficult it was for Trump's first run when no one thought he could win and didn't take him seriously, how hard it was for him to get good staffing, right?
Yeah.
Do you know how much harder it's going to be this second time?
Right.
The idea that if I take an appointment with you on any level, I'm looking at tens of thousands of dollars and billable hours for attorneys that I can't afford. That is another thing to think about, is how will he staff another administration with all these various things going on? Who would be willing to take that gig? That is something else to think about.
So I think it makes sense in a lot of ways, but very few people can come together and just do what makes sense these days. So again, as every word I said, I was prepared for the gong to come anytime, because I can fully see it as simply somehow impossible for Trump to even wrap his brain around. No matter how many people come and say, please, sir, please. Or even to, I got to say with the Governor DeSantis, there's no way you don't take on baggage with that. There's no way, one way or the other. Even if Trump is fantastic in every way and avoids another COVID debacle, just by standing next to the man, stuff's going to get on you. So like I said, I just need to do this stream of consciousness. Thank you all for bearing with me.
No, I'm glad you did that. I'm glad you took it from the opposite angle we took it yesterday when we discussed it. Aaron, what do you think?
Yeah. So I think it's definitely Trump v. DeSantis, just based on the simple fact that we can't have nice things. And I'm not saying necessarily that's the nicest thing to have a Trump-DeSantis team up, but I think it would be, compared to, as you put it, Steve, so definitely, it would be nice when the sliding scale begins at somebody who has dementia who hates our country running things right now. Mm-hmm. That would be very, very nice. I just don't think that that's necessarily the worst thing either. I think it's good for Trump. I think it would be very good for Trump, even if he ends up beating Ron DeSantis. I think it would be very good for Trump to go through that campaign again and maybe be hit from the right on a few things. That would be a good thing. It would not be the best thing, I don't think, in this scenario, but it would be a good thing. And I just want to reiterate this as well, and I don't think that this can be reinforced enough. When we're talking about candidates now, we're not really talking about how squishy are they. We're talking about how radical they are. I think, to some extent.
Yeah.
When we're talking about serious candidates, and I think you have to thank Trump for that, warts and all, and there are many of them, warts and all. We're on the right path. I just hope it's not too late.
Listen, now we're all saying that word too much, but the truth is that the SCOTUS win at the Supreme Court doesn't happen if there's not a Trump presidency. Ron DeSantis isn't governor of Florida if there's not a Trump presidency. So these are now we can all debate whether that was worth it to you or not or what have you, but you cannot debate that those outcomes led to the following results, right? So I understand why there is a strong pull to put him back there, especially in light of the fact, and I agree with you, that they stole it from him, which means they really stole it from you, okay? Because it's really about you, not really about politicians. And so I completely get that and understand that. I also think, though, we need to ask ourselves, given the stakes we're playing for, given the amount of, because here's what's also true. Everything that we don't like right now, the inflation that began with the COVID printing of money during lockdowns, that started with Trump. Operation Warp Speed, all it accomplished was giving birth to the very device they used to try to impose the most coercive violations of human rights collectively, really, in American history. And at least the very worst since the Nuremberg Code. We know what a Dr. Fauci is because of Trump. No one had an idea who this guy was until Trump basically made him, well, prime minister, to use my expression from before. No one had a clue what the hell a Debbie Birx was. She got empowered through Mike Pence, who got empowered through Trump. So those things are true too. And over here, you've got a proof of concept, Shannon, with a guy who is not running some podunk state or some deep red state.
Right.
He's running the third most populous state in the country that has been the number one most expensive political swing state in this country all of our lifetimes.
Yeah.
And he's had to staff this almost independent of his own party. He's had to create all of his own infrastructure. You have a proof of concept here of a guy who can take the path that Trump charted and actually fulfill it. And so I think at the very least, you should take a very long look at the potential of that before just writing it off and saying, let's run it back. That's my case. Shannon, what do you think is more likely, and what are your thoughts?
I think that DeSantis, Trump talks about crushing the left. DeSantis crushes the left. And that's the biggest difference between the two of them. One talks the talk, the other walks the walk. And I think that the electorate, quite frankly, is going to be the entity that decides who the presidential nominee will be. Because what I'm seeing, and it's interesting, I remember back when, I was pretty green, I used to listen to Rush Limbaugh all the time before I was a radio host. And he would talk about how he's an entertainer. We viewed politics as sport, and Rush Limbaugh gave us what we wanted as an audience, right? He was just an entertainer. That's all he was there for. And that made sense for the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s when we were relatively affluent. We were not facing this global tyranny of epic proportion that we are looking at today. We hadn't gone through the worst 2 years in human history in terms of human suffering and abuse of a people by their governments. And so I would say, and as a radio host today, I know from my listeners, when they reach out to me and talk to me, they don't want to be entertained anymore because this is scary and this is serious. They come to the radio every evening to understand and to hear that they're not alone, that they're not insane. And then they come because they want hope. They don't want to believe that this is just inevitable and we can't win. And then the third thing they want is they want to learn how to fight. They want to know what to do and how to beat this. So it's a different mood. And I think the mood of my audience, and likely your audience, reflects the mood of the electorate. And I don't know that they're going to give Trump a pass. I don't know that they're going to give him a pass on
That's
that.
why the most art of the deal thing ever, if he's still art of the deal
Is to
guy,
cut the deal?
is to cut the deal and make him the VP.
That exit question on it. Because of time, I got to reduce it to true or false. True or false? By this time next year, the data on the jabs will existentially threaten Trump politically.
True.
Todd.
Absolutely true. It's an albatross.
Wow.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks that it will be true.
Yeah. It's huge.
All right. Well, that's a good segue for where we're going next, because we're going to get into COVID jab politics, because DeSantis has seen himself mano a mano with the White House and the Democrats on this. Where are the rest of the Republicans? We will discuss in a moment.
This is Steve Deace
on the Blaze Radio Network.
so that the world may know. This is Steve Deace.
If you're looking for a movie to watch this weekend, you can watch one that has yours truly in it. I've got an extended cameo in a film from a few years ago called The Order of Rights, which has, since it was released, it's won all kinds of film awards, pro-life awards as well. But the reason why we're hyping the film again is because we anticipate that soon Roe v. Wade will be overturned. And a lot of the arguments made in this film's climactic courtroom scene are going to be a lot of the arguments that will be discussed in district and state courts where you live all over the country here right after that happens. All right. So if you want to watch this film, it does a good job of putting a human story on the abortion issue too. It's not just a legal case. It's not just, philosophical, theoretical. It's very personal too. And if you want to watch this film, you can go get it right now at orderofrightsmovie.com. That's orderofrightsmovie.com, or it's available for rental or purchase at Amazon Prime, Apple TV, iTunes, Google, Vudu, and Vimeo. All right, let's get back to more Feedback Friday. Kate Freeman writes, been listening to your show since I first heard you on Ali Stuckey in 2020. Love the content. And I've gotten some of my family hooked on it as well. Thank you, Kate. Appreciate it. I love the episodes when you discuss the need for more manly men. And you denounce the idea of toxic masculinity. I have to tell you, I've done numerous speaking engagements this year. Nothing draws more applause. If there's women in the room, some of you may have seen the talk I gave to the men's ministry here locally on Nehemiah 13.
Yeah, a little quiet in there.
It got quiet in there. In fact, a few guys got up and left. Okay, but if there's women in the room, when I call out the men, I mean the applause. I mean, it's, like Paige and Plant just came out to do Stairway to Heaven for an encore. I mean, that's the biggest applause line I've ever seen in my career. Women desperate for men, real men. That's what Kate's articulating here. As a single Christian woman, though, it's really hard to find a single man that is like that. Seems most of the good, strong Christian men are already married. Any chance you'd be willing to do a segment on what Christian women should do to help them find good men? So, Aaron, you'd be in her generation, more than likely.
Yep.
Todd, you and I have daughters looking for such men, or will soon be at some point, right? So all three of us have some skin in the game here. You do generationally. Mm-hmm. You may, and you guys may have future children, and one of them may be a baby girl. You don't know that.
No, that's not going to happen.
And Todd, you and I do have baby girls that aren't babies much longer, right? And one of mine is getting married, in fact. So all three of us have some skin in the game to answer this. So who wants to tackle it first?
I will take a crack at it first. And there are increasing moments, and especially when I talk one of my close single buddies, where it's not in a perverse or bragging way. I'm really glad I'm not dating anymore.
Boy, Amy and I have said that to each other so many times.
Just so glad that you just don't have to worry about that. About that anymore.
You know what Steve and I said to each other while we watched you date, Aaron?
What's that?
Thank God we're not dating anymore.
Yeah. No, you guys said that to me too a few times. Because there are just so many tentacles to this. It's really, you could get lost in the weeds. Could get lost in the weeds so easily. And yeah, attraction physically and otherwise is super important, or can be important. But I was just thinking about this week some more. If you're a single woman, I think you can boil this down to about two things to look for in a guy. Does he love Jesus? It's obvious number one with a bullet. And subsidiary under that, if I said that correctly, does he display loyalty? Now that's tough to discern when you have potentially only known somebody for a few months. But does he show loyalty? Because if he shows loyalty, if that's one of his character traits, if you give him a baby, if you give him whatever, he's going to stay loyal to you. And at the end of the day, you can get lost in all of the psychology, and yeah, opposites attract, but the same types of personality, they tend to stay together for longer periods of time. Is he loyal? That's going to be a big telltale sign if he's really ready for this type of commitment. And I would say in these times that we live in right now,
Bing.
Thank you. I didn't say unprecedented.
Yeah,
I was about
implied.
to. I was about to.
Yes.
These times that we live in right now, this may just be the guy in me talking. And if it is, you guys have lived with women longer than I have. I think a lot of Christian women, this is going to sound so bad. I think a lot of single Christian women, and I'm not saying this is you, maybe need to do a little more math. Does that make sense? This guy, he's gainfully employed, loves the Lord. Those things need to be swapped, and he's loyal. I should probably maybe give this guy a chance instead of, ending it after a date or two. Because what I have found is that Christian women who go out and actually are in the world and not in the Christian bubble are far more discerning about men than those who are in a Christian bubble their entire lives when they start looking for dudes to date. So I think those that fall into the latter category, it's time to start doing a little bit more math. I'm not saying that's you, but it's time to start doing a little bit more math. And then those 2 pointers, loves the Lord, is he loyal? Obviously, you need to have a full-time job, but those are kind of two things you really want to look for.
How'd you put it a couple days ago, Steve? If you're a Christian, but you're still super comfortable, if you're not taking
it's
shrapnel
never
these
cost
days,
you anything.
If you're not, you're not, that's an issue. If there's no way for that to be the case in the here and now, and that's where we're living here. We can expand it. We can have a much broader, the Christian throughout history, and there's examples for that. But right here and now, there's no way. We're talking about where are the men for a reason, because they think it's as I said, they think it's a leisure pursuit. It never has been, it never will be, and it certainly isn't right now. So I know a lot. I mean, heck, there's a lot of these home and garden shows, and a lot of them are down in the South, and I think all of these are Christian women. But the house, the fineries, the things. Okay, fine, all good. I want to provide you all that or anything. But do you consider that to be a Christian man when it goes down in a place that you'd prefer it not go down, and you wish it could be a little nicer, and you wish there would be a better tone? But do you trust your husband enough to say, I trust you in these moments? And I know, even though I don't like it, and I'm glad I don't have to be the one to fight him, I know somebody needs to, and I'm glad it's my guy. Is that you? Because if it's not, you need to take care of that first. Because there's all kinds of reasons right now that require your husband to step up and smack somebody around. That's just how it is. They got to make people feel very uncomfortable. In church, in church. When my wife said, yeah, I know, when I said, I'm talking to that. And they don't need your permission. There's all kinds of things we need to have a discussion about, absolutely. But there's not time a lot of times. And it just needs to be done. Are you capable of trusting that? Doesn't mean that he might pick the wrong time occasionally, might go a little overboard. You can reflect on that later. But they're promising right now to come to your churches. They're promising. With violence, their words, not mine. Extreme violence, I think, was actually how they put it. So do you want to let it, does it have to get all the way? Does there have to be body bags before it's time? Or is it okay for your husband to be a man, and when he hears some absolute nonsense come out of somebody's mouth, is he going to deal with it? Or if the drag queen is coming to drag queen story and they're in the library, just like, well, yeah, I don't know. Ask yourself that. Be real about it, too.
And one more thing as well. I would be remiss, and Bella and I joke about this, but she'll tell you that this was one of the things that, really told her, I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but told her that I was serious material is this concept of standards versus expectations. We joke about it now, but standards are loves Jesus and is loyal. That's a standard, okay? Closed fist. Expectations is how that is carried out. Your love for Jesus, I'm expecting a guy whose love for Jesus looks like waking up at 6:30 every single morning, going out, making me breakfast, and then reading the Bible to me while I eat breakfast in bed.
Right.
That's an extreme example, but you really have to caution yourself about those expectations. We're all humans, so we're always going to have them, but just be aware of them.
But when my sister was trying, and she's happily married now, when she was struggling with some of this, I said, you're going to marry a guy who goes to church, but if he may have quite a few tattoos up and down his arm and be a chain smoker. Are you capable of loving that man? What's more important, the Jesus or the smoking? And I think a lot of people, it speaks to what Aaron said. You have this picture in your head, and look at the picture that it is now. It's just it's a whitewashed tomb in many respects. The real thing is John the Baptist a lot of times.
I like you guys both gave great answers. I don't have much to add. It's funny. We started on the men a lot on this show, and I will always get emails from men that are like, "Hey, one of these days, can you do a show about how hard it is to actually find a good woman that hasn't been completely worked over, by feminism and everything else?"
I
right?
gotcha. I feel you.
And we're feeling you. I mean, when my wife and I talk about this, it's funny. She always gives the men the benefit of the doubt. I always give the women the benefit of the doubt. And I think it's because we recognize the excuses / laments of our respected sides, and so we kind of know what's BS and what's not. Here's what I'll say, Kate, and if you're a woman that has a question like this. Number one, don't make just because he's a Christian man, he is still a what?
Sinner.
Yeah, but he's still a man.
But man, yeah.
Yeah. I'm getting carnal now more than I'm getting basic now more than spiritual. I should have signaled that. He shouldn't feel ashamed for wanting to be attracted to his wife, especially when you're younger. As you get older, those things aren't quite as important as they were when you were 22. But they don't sell billions of dollars of makeup and everything every year because men don't like looking at it. Know what I'm trying to say? Mm-hmm. Okay, so understand if you want a good Christian man, you're still looking for a man. Those masculine instincts that you want, one of them is, I really want to be attracted. The same instinct that propels him to swim a moat of alligators for you is the same instinct that makes him want to turn and look at you. Same instincts, okay? The other thing I would say, because I think you guys covered a lot of ground, is keep asking yourself questions like, what can I do? And I would say that to the men too, looking for a good woman. What can I do? What am I responsible for? That kind of self-awareness, that kind of self-assessment, first of all, it's just good in life in general to be willing preemptively to take responsibility for whatever role you play in this ending the way everybody wants it to. As opposed to, why can't someone recognize how much of a finished product I already am? And that's really the main reason, Kate, I wanted to share your note, is because of the premise you're starting from. What can I do better? I think in general, as a society, guys, we don't start from that premise very much and very often at all on virtually anything, Aaron.
Yeah. And to chime in for the third time now on this letter, it's just been something I've been thinking about because I have a couple of different circumstances with folks that I know. This can be, it can also, let's just be honest as well. This process, dating in this world, can be really depressing. It can be, because you get let down, you put yourself out there and you can get let down so many times and you can feel kind of hopeless. Guys, just within the last couple of months, 2 friends / acquaintances of mine who I thought, if I'm being completely honest, were never going to get married, completely independent of each other, completely different parts of the world almost. And both have had pretty severe health issues that have directly impacted their ability to find a mate. Just within like a week of each other, both of them got engaged. To, obviously not to each other. Again, they're completely random, separate people. They got it. Things happen. It's sometimes in time that we would rather be sped up, not our own time. But these, don't give up hope. Hopefully that's not trite and that doesn't give you false hope, whatever, that looks like. But it does happen.
Keep hope alive, yes. Aaron says. Yes. Hey, before we get out of here, one more time, in these unprecedented times,
Bing.
If you're going to get involved in the real estate market, make sure you do with the assistance of someone who actually knows what they're doing. Someone who has a verified track record of success, because without it, they wouldn't get listed at realestateagentsitrust.com. And so you might be wondering, where could I find such an agent, especially given the times in which we live, where there's been a 300% increase in interest rates from this time 7 months ago? The name says it all. Head over to Glenn Beck's realestateagentsitrust.com. That's realestateagentsitrust.com. Just about anywhere you want to move to or these days get away from. We can help you find an agent that will help you to successfully navigate what can be, even under the best of times, a very stressful process when you head over to realestateagentsitrust.com. We got about 90 seconds. Any closing thoughts on the show today?
I would say, if you can swing it, seriously consider arming yourself this weekend. And that's all I got to say about that.
The Borg won't stay on deck 16. Yep. Yeah. Todd.
Well, work on that idle pruning. It's like losing weight, you're in it for the long haul. If you have to start small, but you start reorganizing your life. It's not just going to happen on its own.
Hope you guys all have a absolutely phenomenal weekend. We will be back again on Monday, noon to 2 Eastern, right after Hall of Famer Glenn Beck here on Blaze TV. We'll stick around, do overtime for subscribers. Until then, John 3:17.
This is Steve Deace
on the Blaze Radio Network.
Lock and load. This is Steve Deace. The Steve Deace Show.
And we are back. Whoa. Excellent crooked there. Back with Hour 2, live and on demand here on Blaze TV, radio, and podcast. Steve Deace here with Aaron McIntyre, Todd Erzin, and all of you. Don't forget that you can let us know who you are and what you think about what we think by emailing the show. Steve at stevedeace.com. DEACE is how to spell the last name. You can also follow, like us, Steve Deace on MeWe, Parler, Gab, and Facebook. Follow me at Steve Deace Show on Getter, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, and then as well at Real Steve Deace on Trump's Truth Social, at Real Steve Deace there. You can get clips of the show free of any censorship, also free of any gratuity when you go to rumble.com/Steve Deace Show as well. If you're a podcast listener, we appreciate you so much. You're a big part of our audience, and we've had a surge on our iTunes ranking as of late, so thank you very much. Please leave us a 5-star review if you like the program, if you haven't done so already. And if you've got a question that you want us to answer on a future Ask Me Anything, put that question within your 5-star review and you will move to the front of the line. You can also hit the subscribe and follow button for us, and we want to thank all of you that have done those things for us already. Let's get to Feedback Friday, brought to you by Eden Pure. If you missed me mentioning this earlier this week, we had our monthly poker game on Monday. And we have one long-standing, beloved member of our group, and I don't want to shame him publicly. It's just his name is Mike. And he is literally a human landfill. Walking behind Mike, sitting next to him, is a toxicology report. Sets off Geiger counters. Okay? And so this month for our monthly poker game, I set him at the far end, So it would be facing his rear would be facing the rear.
You seat people at your poker games?
I seated him. Especially once I found out that the guy who won last month, because the deal is if you win, you have to bring the food and drink for everybody the next month, right? You still end up making money, but no one loses more than $10, and you have to give some of it back so that it doesn't get uber competitive and we start, ripping each other's lungs out, right? Okay. And when I found out that the guy who won last month, Brett, he was bringing pork and beans. I'm like, oh boy. All right. But thankfully I remembered I had my Eden Pure Thunderstorm air purifier. So I set Mike down at the far end of the table. I plugged that Eden Pure into the wall. And boy, howdy, it kicked Mike's ass, literally. All right. We could breathe the free air again at poker this month. So if it can hold Mike's toxicology report in check, I'm sure whether it's cigar smoke, pets, kids, they're, potty training, whatever the issue is at your house. All right. I'm sure it can do the same for you. Mike is the ultimate test. All right. Take advantage of it now. They come in packs of 3. You can get $200 off. And when you use the discount code Steve3, my name 3, Steve3, when you go to EdenPureDeals.com, Eden like Garden of Eden, EdenPureDeals.com, use the discount code Steve3 to get the big $200 off.
I'm sure the good people over at Eden Pure hired some nice script doctors to write something for you, and now it's just like
Mike,
beans,
the human landfill.
Whatever.
They told me to make it my own. So I did. All right, let's get to some Feedback Friday. Let's begin with this note. In one generation, we have gone from a handful of unarmed civilians on United 93, sacrificing themselves to stop an attack on 9/11, to an attack that could have killed thousands, or an attack on 9/11 that could have killed thousands, to dozens of heavily armed officers standing by for an hour while children were being slaughtered. I am stunned, shocked, heartbroken. The day after this happened and it came out that it was over an hour before the gunman was taken, I just kept telling my husband, I don't understand this. Why are there not more dead adults, meaning people that were trying to stop him? This question was born out of complete confusion, not a thirst for more death. I was genuinely confused. I just kept thinking that if he was there for an hour, surely he must have shot, injured, killed the adults who went in to try to take him out, right? And yet, the more that comes out about Uvalde, the more I am broken. That is from Ronnie C.
I mean, just within the last 48 hours, we've discovered that the dying woman called her husband, who's Border Patrol, I think.
Border Patrol off-duty cop, one of those.
He tried to get in.
Yeah, and they detained him.
And then today, did you see one of the cops in the picture, in the school, waiting, had a kid in the room who is dead. I saw this today.
I did not see this.
And I can't believe it's real.
Her juxtaposition there. Unarmed civilians, understand they're on a flight. They're what? 20, 30,000 feet in the air probably, right? Which means there's no way out. They know.
Yeah.
They know it's not just that the 9/11 hijackers are armed. They know that even if they successfully took them out, they've killed the pilots, they're in the cockpit. They know that even if they've successfully stopped them without one of them firing off a shot, they're all dead. They're tens of thousands of feet in the air. There's no chance they're surviving this. And yet they did it. And that was just a little over 20 years ago. And here we have armed, fully trained cops, bullet shields, weapons, up against a boy. And they couldn't be bothered to go in for an hour. That juxtaposition. Here's what it means. How does this happen so fast? When a culture lets go of the rope, it goes fast. When we let go of the rope, it goes fast. As a culture, we have let go of the rope. The signs were all there. when you stop and think about it, sadly. How many times over the last few years have we seen assaults in the streets or on subways? Asians, elderly, women, no one steps in to defend. What do? They just grab their phone and they film it. We've seen this repeatedly. We tried to put in prison Kyle Rittenhouse for defending himself. And the prosecution that did it knew there was video. Like, there's a discovery, there's a trial, there's motions to show evidence. They knew this video that none of us had seen, but they knew this video was going to be shown in court, completely demolishing their entire case. They knew ahead of time, for months ahead of time, this video was coming. And they presented their affirmative case. Even beyond that, they presented their prosecutorial case, knowing that eventually the prosecution would rest. The defense would then present its evidence, and its number one piece of evidence would be what? The video. They knew all along it was coming. They knew for months leading up to the case. They knew while the case was going on. They knew this video was coming, and it would, unless the jury just decided, I'm so into my own ideology, I'll ignore reality. They knew this was all coming. And yet they just followed through with this anyway. The signs have been here for a while. The women who walked alone into the Rite Aid or Costco without a mask were followed around and then cornered by creepy men in masks, while other men just walked by and did not say anything, let alone where the hell were their husbands and fathers. The men who just sat on their hands watching their daughters get absolutely destroyed by guys in Adam's apples and square jaws pretending to be women at sporting events and did nothing, politely clapped. The signs have been there. But to me, this juxtaposition crystallizes it more than anything else. More than anything else. We just let go of the rope as a culture. We let go of the rope. And so now, man, as Lord Nefarious likes to say, it's always darkest before it's dark. Mark, writing about the shock poll from New Hampshire that came out this week that had DeSantis ahead of Trump. Who would have thought a year ago a poll like the one in New Hampshire that had DeSantis ahead of Trump would be even possible? Not a chance. No one. Here's what I think has happened. Number one, conservatives understand that Trump is not one of us, but he supported and served many, but not all of our causes well while he was in the White House. Number two, he's made bad choices in candidate backing and losing us / conservatives along the way. He's forced us through his endorsements to beg the question, could there be someone else, someone that doesn't use conservatives, but is actually a conservative? Number three, and this is key, we did easily leave him because a true conservative alternative arose in Ron DeSantis. Number four, or no, it's just those three. Finally, he says, Trump's got that one voter that will cultically vote for Oz or even the Wizard of Oz if Trump says so. But the base core of the party that absolutely shows up to vote has largely left Trump for DeSantis and will support Ron to the nines if he runs. I've only donated to one POTUS candidate in my life, $50 to Ted Cruz. I donate much more to Ron if he gets in. Throw conventional wisdom out the door. I asked many who will win the primary back in 2016. Almost everyone back then said, oh, Jeb's hands down. Oh, Jeb will, hands down. Ha, that's from Mark. What do you think of Mark's analysis? Is that too harsh about Trump? You think it's largely correct? What do you think?
I think it's too early to say for sure. One of his main claims that the base of the party that goes out to vote is in the bag for Ron DeSantis at this point.
Nah.
But I think overall his overarching point that it's hard to predict the future when everybody thought Jeb Bush was going to be the 500-pound gorilla. Wow, that seems stupid in hindsight. Yeah. Let's not, especially when it concerns Trump, but especially in these unprecedented times.
Thank
you.
Nice.
Oh, I feel powerful. But especially in these times, and especially with Donald Trump, let us not be so arrogant to think that we have any clue about what this could shake out and how this could shape up.
Listen, I've got to take issue with the base of the party. The polling is interesting. It is certainly in your say, and there's a chance territory, all that. But it's just like I said earlier about Donald Trump. There's a lot of people who also fit this bill more than anything else, or at least as much as anything else, because, you know, right now with transgenderism, inflation, I mean, there's so many things. But they want vengeance. They want more than they want and I understand that they want the Schadenfreude. They want the feeling of Trump being back in there.
Mm-hmm.
That's what
That's a great point.
We
That's
all
a
know
powerful
this.
allure.
Just be honest about it.
Yeah.
You want that feeling.
Yep.
That the flip side of how bad it felt when you thought it was all stolen from you. You want to,
Heck, all three of us down somewhere would actually kind of enjoy that.
Hell yeah.
Oh, heck, do you remember how much we laughed the night when Hillary lost?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I get it.
And we didn't even vote for Trump then. Imagine how we feel since they stole the election from him after we voted for him this time. Yeah.
I get it, but just you all the conservative core of the party. Whatever you think now or then or about Ted Cruz, pound for pound, that was the guy we were waiting for in terms of a conservative, and that we chose otherwise for any number of reasons. Just don't lie to yourself that it's going to have to become much clearer to a lot of people for whatever reasons they need clarity from, that they need to go in DeSantis's direction. It's not as obvious as you think about how they're just ready to go.
I totally agree with that. I completely agree with that. That's why I said last hour, I understand. This is a potent case. I understand it. Okay? And pre-COVID, Trump was a very good president. Post-COVID, pre-COVID, Trump was a very good president. Okay, but you throw in the fact, the whole Douglas MacArthur, I shall return, you know, the serendipity of this thing coming full circle. Okay, I completely understand the potency of that sort of a story. It's the stuff of great legends and stories of the past. That's a driving narrative in the human heart. I understand it. I just think it would, you know, at least. Let's find out if the Wunderkind over here in Florida is ready to fulfill all that potential that he has clearly flashed the last few years. Ain't no harm in finding that out. At worst, it makes Trump even better than what you think he is right now because he understands he's facing real competition. To me, that's the worst case scenario that happens here, my opinion. All right, I've got a really fun pop culture one I'll get to here in a minute. After I tell you about our friends over at Viciously Loyal Clothing. What are you viciously loyal to? It could be your family, it could be your convictions, your beliefs, your country, and being viciously loyal is what the people who created this brand of clothing are all about. They are a long line of servicemen and women who chose to be servants to their country and now their community, and now to some really cool swag, whether it's their range of premium t-shirts, tank tops, hats, and more. All of them designed to fit your individual style, no matter what it is. Check out their catalog when you go to viciouslyloyal.com, just like it sounds. Viciouslyloyal.com and get 20% off if you're like, hey, you know what? That or that and that looks good. I'm going to go for that. Get 20% off your new Viciously Loyal gear. When you go to viciouslyloyal.com and use the promo code Steve at checkout for 20% off at viciouslyloyal.com. Okay. This is an interesting pop culture one from Eric. Ready?
Yes.
What dystopian film comes true first? Great question. Okay. And I love the options he chose. Escape from New York, Red Dawn, Walking Dead, or Idiocracy. The greatest comedy film of all time.
The last
Aaron said yeah.
Did you see they're making a prequel to the Hunger Games?
Yeah,
they are.
Yeah.
I'm like, did you just
Did they just film the last 27 months?
Just like walk outside and
Yes.
be like, okay, that's the prequel.
Yes. What do you guys think? I think this is a great question. I mean, tragically great, but great.
I'm in idiocracy territory solidly. I
Yeah.
mean, like we said last hour, and I said sometime last week as well. I mean, I never expected the actual fall of Western civilization to be so stupid. I would take nuclear annihilation and winter over this if we're going to be gone in 30, 40 years anyway. If you look back, would you rather have the decline and fall if you knew it was never going to rebirth? If you know it's never going to rebirth with those, would you rather take the decline and fall of Western civilization coming at the edge of an ICBM or this?
I'd rather go out in a blaze of glory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the last two are both true. The Walking Dead is already here. You saw them.
If you understand that it's not really about the zombies, but the moral of the story is that the people who survived are the Walking Dead. Yes. Just merely existing.
The jabbed, mask-wearing, tranny mob, it's already here.
Oh, that's the zombie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're everywhere. And they're promising this weekend to come to your churches and get you. What? It's here.
There's a lot of churches that use lines like, and they're very solid biblical teaching churches, but they don't want to or don't feel like they've been called to directly address, let alone confront what's been happening in the culture that they've been ministering to all this time. And they'll say things to you like, I don't worry about exposing heresy or frauds. I don't talk about the counterfeit bill. I just talk about the real thing. People know the real thing when they see it, which is an interesting strategy because you would essentially, if God utilized that strategy, almost every epistle written in the New Testament would never have happened. Paul is literally writing to specific churches, addressing very specific cultural influences that he views as negatives that have seeped into the church. So I guess we just get rid of both letters to the Corinthians, Galatians, Colossians, Thessalonians.
Don't give them any idea.
We just get rid of we get rid of most of the New Testament, actually, if we do that. Todd. Well, I bring you glad tidings of great joy. If you're one of those churches who thought, we're just about God's love here, and if we do enough programs and enough outreach and we're nice enough, then we'll build enough capital with the community that they'll never come after us whatsoever. If that's you, you're just all about God's love, we just focus on the gospel here. I send you off into the weekend with a glad tiding of great joy. You are about to learn what this movie reference means. The Borg won't stay on deck 16. There was a church in Houston the other day that got crashed by a couple of trannies. Do you guys remember this? What church was it? Do you guys remember?
A couple of pro-aborts.
Oh, it was the pro-aborts.
Yeah.
My bad. Yes. It was the baby killers. What church was it?
Wasn't it Osteen's?
It was Joel Osteen's. It's Joel's. Smiling Joel. I don't talk about sin. There's just so much despair in the world. I kind of just think people need hope. They splattered blood on themselves and interrupted that hopeful message. Yes, indeed. I promise you, you will soon learn. Because all they see is that cross, brother. They don't have they just assume you actually mean it. They have no idea you don't. Or kind of do, provided it's not too hard. Yeah. You are about to learn what movie reference this is. The Borg won't stay on deck 16. Aaron and Waukee, so right here in our backyard. Do you think that most or some people that vote for leftist politicians know what they're actually voting for? What percentage of these voters do you think are simply unaware of the nature of what they're voting for? So for many years, I would have said they're unaware, largely just voting because Republicans are for corporate America. Bill Clinton played the saxophone. I mean, my wife will tell you that was the first presidential vote she ever made. She was 18 and just thought it was cool as hell that, the guy was on Arsenio Hall playing the saxophone. I mean, the whole low information voter stuff that Rush used to talk about a decade or two ago, there used to be a lot of that, okay? What you're starting to see now, like you're seeing now that the full spirit of the age is unleashed within the Democratic Party. And they don't even, it used to be that they would buy these voters off with like coal jobs and union jobs, and they would do endless construction work on I-80 for decades. They'd buy you off. Hey, we'll give you a job, we'll give you some grift from the state, and then you look the other way when we put our cultural rot gun in place. That was kind of the Democrat Party grand bargain for a generation. And now what's happened though, they're fully unleashed now. Like they won't even buy you off. Here's the deal now. We're gonna take your coal job away. We're gonna end the oil industry. We still might do those endless construction projects on I-80, but illegal aliens are gonna do all those now. Okay. And by the way, like the boss in Office Space. What do you do on election day? What time is it? Yeah, polls close about 5. Election day. I'm gonna need you to. I'm gonna need you to show up on election day and vote for the rot gut, and then what do you get in return?
If you don't, we'll call you a racist, misogynistic, homophobic.
Yeah, and you'll get nothing in return. We're getting off oil, green energy, bitches. But we'll see on election day. That's who they are now. They're the supervisor in Office Space. You're just going to work every Saturday, and you're not getting overtime, and not having a life. And they just openly say that. That's the deal now. And so what you're seeing is Republicans, not by any effort on their own, of course. Now, Trump, to his credit, did try. I mean, the Republicans institutionally. You're seeing them make huge inroads right now, the Hispanic community. You're seeing Biden with a almost underwater favorable with blacks. Because they're like, hey, wait a minute. I get some honky in my kid's library with a dildo and fake boobs, and gas is $9 a gallon, and you're taking the nicotine out of my cigarettes, and you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I can't afford formula for my babies. That's the deal now? Hell no. And so what you will see moving forward, Aaron, is that you're going to find out who really believes in this agenda, because they're not going anywhere with it. They're not even hiding it. They're not trying to camouflage it. They used to call tax cuts tax increases investment. They used to have all these code words when we were growing up, right? Mm-hmm. They don't use any of those anymore, do they?
No.
And they're not going to. They're never going back to that ever again. It's a full-fledged demonic cult. The Democratic Party is a construct of the spirit of the age. And so all you're going to get now is the sludge. That's all you're going to get. And so you'll find out how many people are truly in on that. I suspect what you will find is it will be more than you had hoped for, but not as many as they expected. Somewhere in between, I think, will probably be the answer. But I don't see a Democrat leadership council with a young Southern governor named Bill Clinton coming off the 80s, and Michael Dukakis riding in a tank, waving his ACLU card and saying, maybe we shouldn't be the party that lets, murderers out on furloughs to murder more people. Let's not. Hey, I mean, I executed a mentally retarded guy in my state. I'm tougher on crime. I mean, I don't think you're going to get that anymore out of them. Fair?
Right.
Hey, never. I don't think that would ever happen. I mean, Hillary Clinton can't even get them to stop talking about trannies in an election year. She's begging them. Stop. They won't. So I think now you're going to find out because they're going to just openly run on this stuff like everywhere. You'll find out how many people truly believe in this agenda because that's the only thing they're going to run on now.
It's not. Is that a good thing for society? Is that a good thing for a representative republic? No, it's not, because you get results from the other side of the other side of the political aisle, like what we're seeing right now with the Republicans and the guns. I just saw a video the other day. I can't remember if it was on TikTok or YouTube. I can't remember. It was in an airport, and it was this couple, and this woman is losing her ever-loving mind. I can't tell why. She's embarrassed somehow. She's just losing her mind. And her poor, well, I say poor, but her poor boyfriend, husband, whatever he was just there taking it. She was losing it on him, just there taking it. And doing kind of the, it's okay, honey, but she wasn't calming down. That dude is the Republican Party. That dude is the Republican Party as the other side of the aisle just goes absolutely nuts. No fortitude to say, no, we're not doing this here, right? No fortitude, just, okay, let's just, softer, gentler kind of side of Sears. That's essentially what the Republican Party is. That's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. But there is opportunity here to speak to the part of America that still has not gone completely insane and given itself over.
Wanted anything? You want to move on?
The only thing I don't...
That was well said, by the way.
Yes, the last sentence. Do they know the nature of it? I think most people don't know because the nature is demonic.
Yes.
But I think they're... but the greatest trick the devil ever pulled is convincing people that he didn't exist. And so the demonic is happening right in front of them. They're seeing crazy stuff, but they know that the crazy stuff is believed by people that hate the people that they think are icky. So it's more of a trance that a lot of them are in.
Okay, we'll have more feedback Friday when we return here in a moment to wrap things up. A lot of good feedback this week, so looking forward to getting to more of it here next.
The truth, straight, no chaser. Steve Deace.
On the Blaze Radio Network.
Following the truth, no matter where it leads. The Steve Deace Show.
If you have yet to try Built Bar, I almost hesitate to tell you to try the Mud Pie Puff first because that is so good. I don't know how they could possibly come up with something better unless they just, reissued the chocolate chip cookie dough chunk with more cookie dough. That's how good this is.
Have they done Mud Pie cookie dough yet?
Bro.
About Bonner Private Wine.
I don't think I can go on.
Built Bar.
First of all, I'm going to email my rep over at Built Bar with that suggestion here during the break. Anyway, if you want to try Built Bar, it's the greatest protein bar of all time. 15% off your order if you use my last name, Deace, as your promo code when you go to Built.com. Trust me, all the other great flavors are great too. I mean, it was just their original variety box with the mint brownie flavor. That's what sold me at first. But it just gets better and better with each additional flavor they add, all of them covered in real chocolate. You won't believe these things are 130, 150 calories is what the decadent tasting Mud Pie Built Bar Puff is. And so these are outstanding protein bars, very healthy as well, not loaded with carbs, calories, or the grams of sugars you don't want, but loaded with the protein you need. When you go to Built.com, BUILT for Built Bar, get 15% off with the promo code DEACE. Welcome back in, New York talk show host Shannon Joy, as we continue on with the Deace Group. Let's get to issue 3, COVID jab politics.
The FDA recently approved, and the CDC this week started recommending the mRNA experimental COVID jabs for babies as young as 6 months old, while every single Republican governor in the country stayed silent, along with Republicans in Congress. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and the Florida Department of Health spoke up, shirking CDC recommendations and overtly laying out why they don't recommend the jabs for babies.
Governor, there's obviously a lot of controversy at the end of last week between your administration and the White House. What do you make of the White House saying that the state reversed on child vaccine?
So the White House is lying about it. We, surprise. Not surprised the White House would lie. Definitely not surprised that legacy media would amplify the lie, because that's what they do. But I would say when you look at the trial, one of the things they did not have babies or very young kids who had recovered from COVID in the trial. So we don't know what this will do for people that have recovered. But in their recommendation, they are recommending giving the mRNA shot to people, young babies and kids that have already recovered from COVID. They don't have any clinical data on that. I would just caution people, look at the actual data in the clinical trial. It is the weakest possible data that you could possibly see. Very small number of people. What the recommendation is from them doesn't even track the outcomes. We recommend against it. We are not going to have any programs where we're trying to jab 6-month-old babies with mRNA.
All right, so first question here. There's only one country in the world injecting the mRNA spike protein into toddlers and infants, and it's us. There's still a lot of countries in the world, including a lot of left-wing socialist countries, that won't let you put the Moderna jab into people under the age of 30. There's only one health department, though, in the entire country, Florida's. DeSantis' Florida, that has been willing to not recommend the jab for children. Otherwise, Republicans, both members of Congress and governors, largely remain silent on the escalating, troubling data regarding the COVID jabs. Shannon, how much longer can this last? What creates the critical mass here that smashes the Overton window?
Yeah, first and foremost, I mean, on this issue of vaccine injury, sudden adult death syndrome, the data is now at this point way too overwhelming. The cat's out of the bag, the cow's out of the barn, the genie's out of the bottle. They cannot put it back in. And I think there are 4 things, I'll go through them very quickly, that are going to make a big difference. The first is going to be the data that emerges from the Pfizer document dump that was ordered by a judge about 8 months ago. And it is basically laying bare. There are thousands of medical doctors, scientists, researchers. It's Naomi Wolf's project that are pouring through those documents. And it is astounding. Ed Dowd, formerly of BlackRock, has said that what he's seen so far indicates that there is fraud, criminal fraud committed by Pfizer. And that was the data that led to the FDA approval, the fake FDA approval. So that's going to be interesting. Watching Brooke Anderson, she is the woman with all the receipts who is suing Pfizer right now for $2 billion. Now, that's going to go where it goes in the United States of America, but she's already given sworn statements in 4 other countries. And so it's going to be really interesting to see what comes of that, because, again, her documentation and all of the receipts that she collected from her short time during those Pfizer clinical trials are going to be really important in establishing fraud. Because if fraud is established, if Pfizer is found to have committed fraud in those clinical trials, which is becoming very evident that they have, then that would open the door conceivably to every shark, bloodthirsty, ambulance-chasing lawyer in the country. And you could be looking at personal injury lawsuits. The other 4th most important thing, I think, is insurance. And so if you thought Big Pharma was big and powerful, just look at Big Surety. And they have been looking at the mortality data, the increase in mortality data. Every person that dies comes with an insurance policy that has to be paid out. And there is only so long that big insurance is going to stand by and let Big Pharma run away with the piggy bank and essentially destroy their business model as well. So when that happens, everything's going to come apart. This is why I've encouraged Republicans to pull their heads out of their rear ends right now and get right on this if they want to be on the right side of history, because it's not going to go away.
Anybody else want to add to that pretty potent answer? I don't know what else there is to add to it, but give it a shot.
Oh, that's all important and necessary, but trust me on this. In terms of the magical power of vaccines. It's going to take. It's no data presentation. The press isn't going to be on board. No hearing about the insurance issues. It's going to take carnage that is visceral.
Like a presidential candidate or a senator just collapsing like an athlete, something like that.
Yeah, because
right on camera live.
Look at what we saw. Look what people believe about this kind of how easily we were seduced into all of the COVID restrictions because the pharma cult has been paying attention to how people have been slurping up their product, no questions asked, for a long time. And I knew this even before COVID. I said it's just going to take a body count of some kind that you can touch, taste, and feel. Sadly enough, because you see, politically you speak, we are the people are the problem. The people are the problem in this. They worship Pfizer. There's all kinds of mommies all over the place who are like, my baby's going to die if I don't jack him up with 70 shots. And the dad's like, I don't care, whatever mom wants. It's been that way for a long time.
Aaron?
Yeah. Go ahead, Shannon.
But quickly, Shannon. Yep. We have 10 minutes total.
I would challenge that. Yeah, polling is coming out. The number of children being vaccinated, parents who are choosing to vaccinate their children, is abysmal. It's in the toilet. So I would challenge that a little bit. There is a changing sentiment. Again, back to mood.
You see that in the Denmark data, by the way. Denmark is one of the most compliant public health countries in the world. Its public health officials said this week maybe 4 out of 10 parents gave their children the COVID jabs.
They've been more vaccine skeptical in Europe than us for a long time before COVID. They have.
Aaron, you get the last word. Go.
So the movie Ralph Breaks the Internet, if you've seen that, Ralph takes a gander down to the deep web or the dark web to try to find a virus, and he meets this character, this really seedy character that walks around with a mole on his shoulder that has like a face and like a completely separate being that's just absorbed into this guy's body. Along the lines of what Todd is saying, there are so many people, and we're going to find out exactly how many people that is, who will walk around with a mole who can talk to you on their shoulders saying the vaccine is working. It just means the vaccine is working. But I have to believe there are a hell of a lot of people who are somewhere in the middle who got the jab because XYZ, who don't believe in the magical necessarily power of the vaccine, who fit into the cultural, we got to give 70 vaccines, but with this new one, they might be open to interpretation. I think we're going to wake up one morning, and it might be in the next year or so, and these people are surrounded with others just like them, who have collapsed, who have had this and that and the other thing as far as severe side effects go. We're going to wake up, and there's a critical mass of people who have not necessarily overtly said it with their mouths, but believe it in here and know what's causing it. That's a big deal. And that's not going to go reported. It's not going to go covered, but it's still a big bleeping deal.
And then one day, the head of Moderna does a thing at the World Economic Forum where he admits they've got 75 million unused doses, and there's your answer, Aaron. It didn't get reported. The media ignored it. These people don't exist until one day, eventually, the data doesn't lie, and he's like, I got to trash 75 million doses. Nobody wanted it.
And another thing real quick, too, it doesn't matter what the data is. I mean, the data is always going to say this. The accepted data is never going to be that. It's just what matters is the critical mass of people who know deep down that this is what's going on.
Okay. Exit question. Will we ever see the blanket liability protection for big pharma lifted? Aaron?
Yes, but not in our lifetime.
Todd?
Nope.
No.
Can you imagine the discovery on that? They have to protect that at all costs.
Shannon, that's probably why Aaron says not in our lifetime. Yep. The people that were in on it would all be dead. Right? It's kind of like unearthing a Jeffrey Epstein list.
Shannon, the last time we had you on, you made this kind of sound like this is the next frontier of the pro-life movement. I think we're in for another 40 or 50 years of this.
Shannon, get the last word. What do you think the answer is?
I don't know. I think that we might see that, and we might see executions too, honestly, with the mood of the people.
Don't tease me on a Friday.
It'll start in Europe.
Don't tease me.
Europe. Yeah, it's the mood. The mood.
Let's get to our kicker question for issue 4. All right, so Cat Turd had this tweet out earlier this week because Ben Stiller apparently over there, Zelensky's worked his way down. He's gone through enough green shirts now. He's worked his way down to G-list celebrities to go ahead and entertain over in Ukraine. And Cat Turd, if you don't follow Cat Turd on Twitter, by the way, I mean, I don't even have a clue what that name is used for. who the person is. They sent me a nice DM after I was on Tucker last week, though. So whoever it is, thank you. But it's a great Twitter follow. There's a lot of great stuff. They put out a tweet after Ben Stiller visited Zelensky in Ukraine, and it said, "Thank God for Ben Stiller and his wonderful judge of character." And there are pictures here of Ben Stiller with Andrew Cuomo, Ben Stiller with Kevin Spacey, and then Ben Stiller with Harvey Weinstein. And then that's followed ultimately with Ben Stiller and Vladimir Zelensky. So in light of that, who's the worst person that Ben Stiller has done a photo op with, and why? Todd.
Oh, I think it's the Hollywood dude. What's his name? Weinstein. Yeah, I think
Harvey open secret Weinstein.
Because I think, I think that's the most likely that he knew full well what was going on at the time the photo was taken. I think otherwise he's just a rube. I mean, look at that. Did you see what I posted regarding him with Zelensky? I did the picture with him, Will Ferrell, and Chris Kattan, Night at the Roxbury. Look at those two clowns. He doesn't know what's going on. I think he knew full well what was going on with Weinstein, though.
Aaron?
I think this is Andrew Cuomo, no question. Regardless of whether he knew when that was taken or whether he knew what was going to happen, Andrew Cuomo sent thousands upon thousands of elderly to their deaths.
One of the most successful serial killers in American history.
So he's probably the worst.
Shannon.
Yeah, I should probably go with my own devil in New York State, and that would be Andrew Cuomo. But the picture with the Ukrainian president was pretty lame. Like, why do they wear their T-shirts so tight? They look, I don't know.
To impress you would be my guess. It's not doing much for me, but
it's just not impressive.
It's to impress you, I believe.
It's like feminine. It's gross. I don't know. They just look gross to me, both of them.
That's at the Roxbury.
That's painful. That's
hurtful.
That's hurtful. Thank you. I got it wrong. Thank you.
I heard the twang. I got it.
All right, let's get to our predictions. Shannon, we'll let you go first.
All right, I think there's going to be an independent that's going to jump in the Pennsylvania Senate race. I'm not going to say who it is.
I could see that.
Dr. Oz is not.
I mean, you've got a Democrat who literally is a VAERS report walking Fetterman. Okay, he's literally a walking VAERS report, and the Republican has 100% name ID with a -40 unfavorable with independents, which means there's almost no chance he can rehabilitate his image. He's too well known of a figure. I could see someone jumping in there and saying, "Hey, maybe I can at least get my Ross Perot 19%." I could see it.
Why not?
Why not? Aaron.
Why not?
Biden's proposed gas tax will accidentally be the largest rollback in big government in the last 20 years. Because what's going to happen is that demand will continue to increase once the gas tax holiday goes away, which will then put the White House, once it's set to expire, whenever that is, 3-4 months, in the precarious position of reimposing at a plus 18 to 20 cents per gallon.
Wow.
And so they will just keep extending it into perpetuity a la student loan debt.
I like it.
That's a great prediction, man.
I like it.
That's much better than your preseason NFL takes.
Oh, thank you.
That's good stuff. I'm impressed.
Just came up with it 2 minutes ago.
That's really good.
Nice.
Yeah. Todd.
There will be a lot more guns in church this Sunday.
That's a good one, too. All right, here's mine. I'm going to predict. You ready?
Nope.
Okay. I'm going to predict Trump will end up endorsing Elise Stefanik for Speaker and not Kevin McCarthy. And that, therefore, Elise Stefanik will be the next Speaker of the House.
Yeah, I can see it.
She's terrible.
Now, she's from your home state, too. I didn't say
she's the worst.
This isn't an endorsement. I'm not an Elise Stefanik fan. That's just my prediction.
Yeah.
And I think part of the reason why Trump will jump off the McCarthy train. This is why there's no negative to me, as I said yesterday, of DeSantis running. For me, There might be for DeSantis, but there's not for me. Because he's going to push his presence there and the gravitas that comes with is going to push Trump competitively to reevaluate a lot of things that I think he probably thought he could take for granted. And that's the art of the deal there. Hey, there's another rooster in the hen house here. I'm going to have to up my game a little bit. I'm going to have to be a little sweeter. I'm going to have to buy you out a little harder. I'm going to give you a little bit more.
He doesn't want to do any of that. That's why he needs to make him a VP. He doesn't want any of that.
He never wants to do any of that, but he will. He will do some of that. Because then he'll lose. If he doesn't do that, he'll lose.
Yeah.
Shannon, we'll see you again. Thank you for joining us as always.
Thanks, fellas.
You bet. We'll come back. It'll be Feedback Friday when we return.
You're listening to Steve Deace
on the Blaze Radio Network.